you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
Bobby in Los Angeles.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
So we spoke last week about the mind-independent concept. Do you remember?
Did you call, did I pick you up after the show was over?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I specifically told you to call back this week.
Why don't you recap for the audience? See that.
Why don't you recap, Bobby?
Okay, I'll recap. So I was saying that we cannot deny the existence of something that doesn't exist, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to talk about it. And then I mentioned that God is a concept that exists in our minds. And then you said that God exists only in our minds. So that's where we left off.
Okay.
Are you okay with the idea that God exists but only in our minds as a concept?
No, because then you have to prove that. You're stating that. You're making that claim. So you have to prove that it exists only in our minds. And that God is not a mind-independent concept.
But we're not making a claim. I was only asking what I thought from your characterization of the discussion, that was what you were proposing. There is a God, and what the God is a concept in our minds. Is that not what you are proposing?
Yes,
that is what you are proposing.
And
okay,
imagination is more important than knowledge. And
no, you lost me there.
Yeah, no.
You lost me there. And I'm an artist, and I design role-playing games for a living. Imagination is hugely important to me, but it's not more important than actually knowing stuff. Okay,
well, that could be argued more, but just focusing back on the things that we discussed as far as God and a concept, reason was brought up, and I mentioned that reason is your God. And another thing that they said was reason was a tool.
Yeah.
Right.
But if reason is a tool, then you have to prove that that there is no watchmaker that left his tools around for you to borrow without his permission.
No, we don't. If you are claiming that there was a watchmaker who left his tools around, you are making the claim. The burden of proof falls on whoever is positing the existence of a thing.
So
and skepticism. Just a moment, Bobby.
As opposed to the existence of the concept of God. How do these things differ?
Just a moment.
And if God is just a concept,
you got to put him on hold.
As good
Bobby,
as
let him need to listen to Jeff.
Let me finish. I'm sorry. Bobby.
Yes.
Sorry. If you are positing the existence of a watchmaker, then it's the reason why the burden of proof falls on the party who claims to know that something exists is because when you claim to know that something exists, you're claiming that you have good reason to make that claim, and so it's your job to tell everybody else what those reasons are, why it is that you believe, and it's your job to, if anybody else is going to believe, it's your job to explain why. Skepticism is just people hearing those explanations, those arguments, and going, I'm not convinced, and here's why. It's not the skeptic's job to prove that a claim you made is false. It's your job to prove that it's true, okay?
Well, a lot of the claims that were made last week are basically what I'm trying to go at.
Nobody watching has seen last week.
Just pick one, tell us what the claim was, and we'll talk about it.
The claim, one of your claims, actually, but the other guy it's not there right now. He said that reason is a tool. And that's why I said, if he says that reason is a tool and not your God, then you have to prove that there is no watchmaker left his tools around for you not to borrow without his permission.
I think you're misunderstanding the use of the word tool.
Yeah, tool in that is a metaphor.
Reason is not a screwdriver specifically.
It's a process of thinking about things that leads to results that tend to be accurate.
Okay, so
and nobody had to invent
that. There's like this orderliness, like everything is in order, and that's where reason comes from. And if you follow this order of the universe, then then you're going to reason yourself out of the fact that there's a God. Is that right?
There is enough order in the universe that to support the process of reason and make it, work. And we know this because we use reason and it does work, right? We don't find that the universe...
Why does reason work?
Just a moment.
What is the nature of reason? What is the nature of the truth about math and logic? Look, the only way I can prove to you, and
Bobby,
we can
Bobby,
disagree.
can you stop?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, you are the one claiming that reason has to be a thing that had somebody that invented it. We don't make that claim. So we do not have to show you then the maker of reason, because we don't think it's any such thing. Do you think there was a maker of reason? If you do, then it's your job to show that it exists.
And does that
the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it's comprehensible, and if everything is orderly, then we're the most religious people of all, because we believe that everything is going to be in order in the universe.
And we have
everything is not in order in the universe, though. Obviously, that's not true.
Okay. Well, for me, it is. I mean, the only way I'm granted, we're not going to reach a new higher level of understanding or reality here, but the only thing that we differ on, and the only thing that is the difference between atheist and me, is the fact that I believe that the concept of God is mind independent, and the only way I can prove that to you is if I take all human beings out of this planet, replace them with new intelligent beings, and if they come up with the same concept of God, then truly the concept of God must be mind independent. Other things like spirit are just observations. I seriously don't think that people have just created a conspiracy or convention to come up and create things like concepts like spirit and so on and so forth, just so they can dominate mankind's existence. I think atheism.
Do you believe that they can make up concepts, Bobby? Do you believe they can make up concepts like nirvana?
Nirvana is trying to give another convention or definition of something that is in everything, in all time.
Yeah, well, the guy before you said that Christianity made no sense and that Buddhism was the most logical religion. Do you think that the concept of nirvana is something real?
That they put them on paper, and it's just people talking. That's all it is.
Okay, so people make stuff up. We agree on that, right?
Yes.
So what is it that would lead me to believe that this God idea that you have is not just something that's made up? I mean, a minute ago you were trying to tell me that God is independent of minds, but I mean, obviously people can come up with some pretty complicated metaphysical ideas like nirvana. Why isn't your God in the same category? Do you think that your God is orderly? I'm not at that point. I cannot discuss what I think God is on my views if we don't agree on the fact that you would accept that God is it exists, that God exists. I don't say anything about God.
There won't be any point of you arguing at that.
Wait, so you can't convince me that God exists unless I agree with you conditionally that God exists. Is that what you're saying?
Not conditional, unconditional.
Oh, okay. So I have to completely accept your claim that God exists, and then you'll have proven it to me.
And we're not going to do that just 'cause, Bobby. We agree that things exist when we see evidence that they exist. I just want to take a moment to go back to your thought experiment of eliminating all human beings from Earth and replacing them with other thinking beings and seeing if they come up with God again. Ain't going to work, because God is just an idea. People independently come up with similar ideas all the darn time. And if certain theories about the neurological roots of religion are true, then there are things then God is a concept that springs from the misfiring of certain parts of the brain, and people misinterpret the experiences that they are having, and God is then an explanation for things that they're experiencing that they don't really understand what they are. And that could happen with your brand new, new race of intelligent beings living on the Earth just as easily as it could have happened with us. That wouldn't work. What you got to do to prove that a God exists is prove that the God exists, Bobby.
A brain malfunction. But
prove that God exists. Can you?
Then you're saying that God exists and it's just a brain malfunction. That's all you're saying.
I said that is a theory that has been floated, and there is research being done on that idea. I don't know if that is exactly what it is, but it makes more sense than that. There is a cosmic, invisible force out there that that interacts with us, but without leaving any trace that could be used to actually prove its existence. Okay.
Look,
that's the alternative.
This is the problem with atheism, is it's taking away a lot of dreams and hopes of people, and for a lot of people, that's all that's left.
I'm sorry that what we're saying makes you sad, Bobby.
I mean,
but that's we're talking about what's actually true here.
It's taking the human experience for granted, and religion also.
We're not. Whoa! Wait a minute. I want to respond to that.
And all that. So both of these are for me bad things.
Bobby.
Okay.
Where do you get off claiming that we disregard the human experience? We don't disregard the human experience. We just care what the human experience actually is. And you don't. You would rather take what, for your first impression of the human experience and run with that in some direction that makes you happy. We don't do that. We care what's actually going on.
But what you do is you take away they call it a salvation for a reason. They call it a salvation because once you know in your conviction is good enough. That's why I said imagination is more powerful than knowledge, because your conviction or your intention.
No, it's not. Imagine a bridge across a chasm and then actually construct one with an understanding of mechanics. Okay? One of them is going to actually work. Imagination is a wonderful thing. I make my living off of imagination, Bobby. I make my living off of imagination. I'm an artist, and I design role-playing games. Imagination is hugely important, but it's different from reality and knowledge. And it doesn't do the same job, and it's not better.
But reality and knowledge is not everything. It's not God is sitting on a throne right in front of you. It's not like that. It's the tools that you left behind, the reason, the math and logic and truth about those things. Like 2 + 2 = 4. Take everybody out of this planet. Is 2 + 2 equal 4 still going to be true and still going to remain true?
So
it's going to remain true. It's mind independent.
Could God decide that from now on 2 + 2 is not 4? Could he change that?
Like I said, I'm not going to answer that question because you haven't.
We're done with Bobby.
You want me to accept a bunch of claims that you have, and then you just don't actually have any claims when we start getting close to them? Okay.